Lately, after Gabriel's bath, I've noticed white threads floating in the bathtub. When I asked Gabriel about it, he just evaded the question. On the eve of Gabriel going on a business trip, he gave me some aromatherapy oil that's supposed to help with morning sickness. After using it nightly as Gabriel instructed, I experienced severe abdominal pain and had to call for an ambulance at the maternity clinic. When I explained the situation, the doctor was shaken. He said it was an aromatherapy oil that could endanger both the mother and baby. Suspicious of Gabriel's infidelity, I called his office and found out he had taken a personal day off to match the dates with Vanessa. Heading to Vanessa's apartment, I waited in the car and soon saw Vanessa and Gabriel coming from across the street. I want to live together soon. If this plan works, we can push Isabella back to her parents' house. If she loses the baby and becomes emotionally unstable, it won't seem odd for us to live apart. It's her fault for getting pregnant when I'm not even good with kids, Gabriel said. I buried my face in the steering wheel and sobbed. Eventually, I lifted my head and swore revenge on Gabriel and Vanessa. They will never forgive them. I am Isabella, a 39-year-old housewife. I met Gabriel at work and we got married 5 years ago. Gabriel works for a major company. He's a rank-and-file employee but earns a good salary due to his diligent work. Recently, I finally got pregnant, something I've always wanted. Looking at the ultrasound picture, I eagerly anticipated the day I would meet our baby. But lately, I've been unbearably anxious. Something was off about Gabriel. Eventually, I realized Gabriel's true nature, and it sent chills down my spine. I became close to Gabriel when I was assigned to his team at his company, a subsidiary where we worked together. Gabriel, who was not the aggressive type at work but was adored by his boss and loved by colleagues, had a gentle demeanor. Being someone who struggled with communication and took the time to open up to others, I admired Gabriel. So when he asked me out, I seriously wondered what he saw in me. When he finally proposed, he answered with a gentle smile. I like that you seem modest and obedient, and I find your looks appealing. As someone self-conscious about being petite and having a youthful face, I was surprised, but also felt joy. Afterward, we asked Gabriel's boss to be our go-between, and we got married. The first year passed without major issues as we both reveled in our newlywed life. However, starting from the second year, I began struggling with balancing household chores and work. Gabriel had forgotten our promise to share domestic duties and started dumping all the housework on me. I know it's tough, Isabella, since you are working full-time too, but I just can't relax with the house in disarray, he said. I was puzzled. I kept up with the dishes and laundry diligently. It was just that I couldn't find the time to vacuum every day, leaving a bit of dust in the corners of the room. I wipe everything with cleaning wipes every day. We live in an apartment, and it would be bothersome to others if I vacuum early in the morning or late at night. Yeah, I get that, but I like things clean. It just doesn't feel comfortable for me, Gabriel complained. Despite saying this, Gabriel's study was always a mess. He told me not to enter his study, so I only peeked from the hallway. During that time, I was horrified by the sight of his completely cluttered room. The room was so cluttered with empty snack bags, liquor cans, and car magazines that there was hardly any place to step. His desk at work is tidy because he cares about appearances. Gabriel's complaints continued. The meals have been pretty simple lately. You're just reheating pre-made stuff. I want freshly made food. But this feels no different from ready-made meals. I was astonished he compared the meals I prepared during the weekends to ready-made meals. Look, keeping the house spotless, cooking fresh meals all the time, and working full-time, that's impossible without hiring a housekeeper, I said. But why don't you quit your job? Gabriel said. What about you could just become a full-time homemaker? I'll work more to make up for it. A wave of anxiety swept over me. What if we have a child in the future, and the education costs exceed our budget? While I was hesitating for an answer, Gabriel looked into my face and smiled kindly. I'm worried about your body. It hurts to see you golem every day. Gabriel, please become a homemaker for me. I was proud of my job, enjoyed my work environment, and wanted to continue until retirement if possible. But I didn't want to cause Gabriel to worry. After much hesitation and regretfully bidding farewell to my colleagues and boss, I resigned. I've always been shy and take time to warm up to others, but once I get close to someone, I tend to have deep and long-lasting relationships. That's why I vowed to always cherish Gabriel, whom I became involved with. Gabriel also treated me with care. However, as soon as I became a full-time homemaker and started depending on Gabriel's income, he began to adopt an intimidating attitude towards me. Really? The orthopedic clinic changed doctors? Yes, it used to be a female doctor. When I went there after twisting my ankle, then stopped going there. We'll switch to the hospital in the next town where a female doctor works, Gabriel said, showing his displeasure. But they asked me to keep coming until I'm fully healed. No way. He raised his voice unusually. Just the thought of a young man touching your leg makes me feel sick. Are you okay with that? I was surprised by Gabriel's words. It's just a medical examination. It can't be helped. There are other doctors, right? We're changing to the next town next time. Otherwise, I'll stop giving you money for the visits, he said reluctantly. I switched to a hospital in the next town to appease Gabriel's jealousy. I didn't realize he was this jealous, but it gradually became no laughing matter. The next thing Gabriel complained about was my regular hair salon. When I mentioned that my stylist was going on maternity leave and I would be seen by a male hairstylist next, Gabriel secretly visited the salon and then started nitpicking. That guy is no good. Paying $50 for such a haircut is a ripoff. Why don't you change to someone else? He said. I was taken aback, but Carly explained, that's the going rate around here. He's well regarded among people I know. How so? He's just popular for his looks. He must be hitting on his clients. Gabriel sneered. Don't say that. He has a wife and kids, Carly defended. Then it's cheating, Gabriel said. Just thinking of that guy touching your hair with his sleeve hands makes me so frustrated I can't sleep at night. What? It's just a haircut. Stop making a fuss, I protested. Despite my protest, I eventually switched to another salon because he wouldn't stop complaining. Gabriel began to find fault even with me just going out briefly. It's odd for a housewife to be out and about all the time. You should devote more to me, he said. What are you talking about? I do all the housework properly. I didn't quit my job just to be cooped up at home all day, I retorted. Hey, I want to go back to work. Maybe part-time would be manageable, I suggested. No way, Gabriel flatly refused. The housework would surely suffer. I'm supporting us, so what's there to be dissatisfied about? I was speechless at his frowning face. When I confided in my college friend Aaliyah, she was also astonished. Aaliyah works in the HR department at Gabriel's company. Enjoying the story so far? Show your support by liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's dive back into the story. Gabriel listens to us at work and never shows disdain towards women, but I see he's different in private. He uses male chauvinism as an excuse and it's troubling, but I don't want to fight with Gabriel, and he doesn't verbally abuse me, so I'm at a loss, I told her. Sipping coffee at a cafe, I sighed. If it gets any worse, talk to me. I'm on your side, May, Aaliyah said. Thanks, I replied with a smile. However, I gradually became reluctant to go out and started to spend my days feeling depressed. One day, after feeling unwell for a while, I tried a pregnancy test, and it turned out positive. I couldn't help but cry out in the bathroom. I was so happy I cried, having almost given up hope due to my age. When I told Gabriel upon his return home, he momentarily tensed up before smiling. Really? I can't believe it. Me neither. I'll get it checked at the hospital tomorrow. I'll make sure to go to a place with a female doctor. When should we tell your parents? I asked. Let's wait until it's stable, right? We don't know yet if everything will be okay, he said, troubled. His words troubled me, but they were true. For now, I'll focus on having a healthy baby. However, contrary to my excitement, Gabriel seemed unwelcoming of the pregnancy. He had always said he was not fond of children and had agreed that we would give up if natural conception didn't happen. But I hoped his feelings would change now that we were expecting. There are plenty of people who say they don't like kids but love their own, I said casually, hoping to make the reality of our baby feel more real to him. Novahora, Freya, modern names are so stylish, aren't they? Unisex names seem to be the trend, I continued speaking, undeterred by Gabriel, who was absorbed in his phone. What kind of names do you like, Gabriel? I asked. Can't you see I'm busy? I'll leave it up to you, May, he replied curtly. I couldn't hide my disappointment at his curt response. On another day, I tried to involve him again. You're taking a day off soon, right? There's a prenatal checkup that day. Let's go together, I suggested. Why should a man go? It's not like it matters to me, he said. I felt my cheeks stiffen. It was strange to hear "it doesn't matter" from a father-to-be. He delivered the final blow with a half-smile, leaving me speechless. I'm not good with horror movies, so spare me the delivery room, okay? He said. I was utterly disappointed by the inappropriate comparison, especially since childbirth is a life-threatening endeavor. However, plagued by morning sickness, I didn't have the energy to argue with Gabriel. Nausea, drowsiness, and lethargy made it almost impossible for me to cook or clean. Spending the day slumped on the sofa wasn't unusual anymore. I was worried about Gabriel's complaints, but it seemed even he found it difficult to grumble when I was frequently rushing to the restroom. Passing through the hallway with laundry, I heard the shower and remembered, indeed, after Gabriel bathed, there were always white threads floating in the bathtub. It's thinner than human hair, and when scooped up, it's about 3 centimeters long. When I asked Gabriel about it after a brief silence, he chuckled and shrugged. That's just dirt, May. You're slacking off on cleaning the bath, aren't you? No, it doesn't seem like that. I can't explain it well, I replied. All right, let's try to clean more, okay? He said, brushing me off. Not wanting to argue, I didn't press further. Not wanting to bathe in a tub with mysterious floating threads, I decided to stick to showers for the time being. The connection between Gabriel and the threads remained unclear. His recent strain of late nights at work and increased business trips might be related. On Friday, Gabriel approached me with a beaming smile. I've got a business trip to Chicago starting tomorrow. Sorry to leave you alone for a week, especially when you were having such a hard time with the morning sickness. It's part of your job. It can't be helped. Take care, okay? Yeah, by the way, I got something good, he said, handing me a stylish white box. When I opened it, there were 7 small bottles with black lids lined up inside. Is this aromatherapy oil? Yes, it's supposed to help with morning sickness. A colleague's wife tried it and her appetite came back. Really? How do I use it? Add it to the bath water. It's effective as an aromatherapy bath, Gabriel explained. I asked for the instructions and wrote them down. So use it like this. I'm not fond of artificial scents and usually stay away from aromatherapy oils and incense, I said. I was grateful. Gabriel wrote down the instructions while reading the note. Seriously, make sure you do it every day for your sake and the baby's as well. Got it? Thank your colleague for me, I said. From the day Gabriel left on his business trip, I took an aromatherapy bath every night. Not seeing any white threads, I felt safe soaking in the water. Enjoying the story so far? Show your support by liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's dive back into the story. Let's see, 1 bottle per 200 ml of water, that's quite a lot, I thought as I poured it into the bathtub. A potent fragrance wafted up with the steam. It seemed relaxing and likely beneficial for the baby as well. There were no immediate effects, but perhaps my appetite would be back by the time Gabriel returned from his trip. I continued using it, feeling hopeful, and reached the 5th day. During the bath, I suddenly felt a dull pain in my lower abdomen. Initially dismissing it as constipation, the pain intensified. Moaning in pain, I changed into my home clothes and called an ambulance. I was crushed by the fear that something might have happened to the baby. The doctor told me in a firm voice, "The herb used in this aromatherapy oil can cause uterine contractions. It's strictly forbidden for pregnant women. It could have caused a miscarriage." Everything went dark before my eyes. I felt faint but managed to stay conscious and urgently requested an examination. Fortunately, the baby was safe. I was told that my body should recover with some rest. I stayed in the hospital overnight and returned home by taxi the next morning. Back home, I still couldn't believe it. I had used the oil exactly as Gabriel had told me, and yet it had almost endangered our baby. I felt an urgent need to confront him with my anger. Waiting for his lunch break, I called Gabriel's mobile, but it just kept ringing. A bad feeling suddenly crossed my mind. His recent aloof behavior, the sudden increase in overtime and business trips, and now this incident. I had heard that many husbands cheat during their wife's pregnancy. Deciding to check with Aaliyah, I called her mobile. "Sorry to bother you during your break, but listen," I said. Aaliyah gasped on the other end of the line. "So, you're in a place with a signal now. What are you talking about? Aren't you supposed to be feeling sick from morning sickness and staying at your parents' place?" I heard it's in the countryside with poor signal, so I held back from sending messages since Gabriel is with you. I thought it would be okay." "I'm at home. What do you mean?" I asked, confused. "I heard Gabriel is on a business trip to Chicago," Aaliyah said. "He must have wanted to prevent me from contacting you, perhaps fearing his affair would be exposed. That's what it is." "Hey, is there a female employee who took time off during the same period? Let me check," she said. "Oh, it's Vanessa from the accounting department. Should I give you her address?" Aaliyah asked. "Yes, please," I said, my anger outweighing my shock. I forgot mine in the heat of my anger. I parked my car where I could see the front entrance of the apartment building and waited for Gabriel and Vanessa to appear. My car was common enough that I wasn't worried about being noticed while lying in wait. After about an hour, a couple holding hands approached from the other side of the street. Gabriel was with a woman with flashy makeup. She must be Vanessa. Gabriel, carrying a heavy eco bag, looked visibly thrilled. Looking at him ignited a wave of fiery anger in me. He was brazenly having an affair after putting me through such hell. "It's like we're newlyweds. It's so fun." Vanessa's shrill voice could easily be heard down the street. "I can't wait to live with you, Gabriel. If this plan works, we can push Isabella back to her parents' house. Divorce is tricky, but separation should be safe." Vanessa agreed with Gabriel's smug assertion. "If she loses the baby and becomes emotionally unstable, it won't seem odd for you both to live apart." "You're so smart. It's her fault for getting pregnant when I'm not good with kids," Gabriel said. Even after they disappeared into the apartment, I sat there stunned for a while. Then intense rage surged from within and tears overflowed from my eyes before I realized it. "I'm so frustrated and ashamed," I said aloud, feeling nauseous as I blamed myself for not seeing through and trusting such a person. Leaning over the steering wheel, I sobbed. Eventually, lifting my head, I gritted my teeth and vowed revenge on Gabriel and Vanessa. Gabriel and Vanessa. "I will never forgive you," I muttered to myself. 2 days later in the afternoon, I went with Aaliyah, who had taken the afternoon off, to Vanessa's apartment. I stayed outside the entrance hall to avoid being seen by the intercom camera. "Hello," Aaliyah said into the intercom. "What brings you here?" Vanessa responded immediately. "Weren't you supposed to finish some documents at home? You left some materials on your desk," Aaliyah smoothly lied, and Vanessa easily believed it. "Oh no, silly me, thank you. I'll go get them now." "It's okay. I'll bring them up to your room," Aaliyah said. "Really? Then please do. I'll unlock the door for you." Once the door was opened, we went up to Vanessa's apartment in the elevator. Making sure I wasn't caught on camera, I stayed back while Aaliyah called Vanessa out. Soon the door opened, and Vanessa, in a bathrobe and casual clothes, appeared. How luxurious, taking a shower in the middle of the afternoon, I thought to myself. "Aaliyah, you're a lifesaver, really reliable," Vanessa exclaimed. Vanessa let out a sharp scream when I suddenly showed my face as she tried to close the door. I wedged my bag in, slid my hand into the gap, and pried the door open. With a resigned look, Vanessa allowed Aaliyah and me into the room. From a half-open room at the end of the hall, we could hear Gabriel speaking in baby talk. Tiptoeing down the hallway and peering into the room, I saw Gabriel in just his underwear. His eyes softened, brushing a long-haired cat. "Tuna, you're being such a good boy, staying still. I'll give you a treat later. Your fur is so smooth and silky. Today you're the most handsome cat in the world." "Meow," Gabriel cooed. So that's it. The white threads were the white cat's fur. No wonder there was so much fur. He brushed his bare upper body against it, and he didn't rinse himself before getting in the bath. How could he do that? Before I, a pregnant woman, used it afterward? That's gross. Rage bubbled up as I saw Gabriel's affectionate face toward the cat. He cared more for his affair partner's cat than for our unborn child. The cat was the first to notice my resentful gaze. It flinched, looking scared, and ran to a corner of the room. "What's wrong, Tuna? Come and play with Daddy," Gabriel said. "Since when did you become a cat's dad? Or did you get Vanessa pregnant too?" I exclaimed, stepping into the living room. "Why are you—" T emerged from behind me, causing him to startle. "That's right, you and T are friends." Gabriel exhaled as if in resignation, and Vanessa hugged him from behind. "Gabriel, we've been caught," Vanessa said. "It's okay, Vanessa, leave it to me," Gabriel replied. His posture, standing there in his underwear, was ridiculous, and I almost laughed at the absurdity of the situation. "How are you feeling, May? I've told you countless times how bad the morning sickness is," Gabriel said. "No, I mean, since you are here, you must be fine. Didn't your wife stop using the aromatherapy oil?" Vanessa interjected. "Enjoying the story so far? Show your support by liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's dive back into the story." "That's why both the mother and child are healthy," Gabriel added. "Oh, right, you really should trust your husband more," Vanessa smirked. And Gabriel looked disappointed, I thought, which infuriated me even more. I did use it because I was happy that Gabriel seemed to care about my well-being. Then I was struck with severe pain and had to call an ambulance. "It was almost too late," I shouted. "What a shame! A baby that Daddy doesn't want should just disappear," Vanessa interrupted with her sugary tone. "What do you even realize what you've done? You tried to take the lives of me and my baby!" I yelled. "That's not true," Gabriel smirked dismissively. "It's not even born yet, so treating it like a person is ridiculous. Or are you even pregnant? You're just saying that to get attention because you sensed I was cheating, right?" "Exactly. And the morning sickness must be an act too," Vanessa chimed in. My brain felt like it was boiling with rage at their laughter. "I showed you the ultrasound picture, didn't I?" "Maybe you borrowed it from another pregnant woman. Your stomach is flat. Can't trust that. Could be someone else's kid, you know," Gabriel said. "Enough from you two," Aaliyah scolded them, but Gabriel and Vanessa just grinned. "Well, even if it is my kid, I don't want it," Gabriel declared. Don't do things without my permission. You're causing unnecessary trouble," I managed to say. "Why do you deny it so much? Do you hate the idea of being a father that much? Are you that bad with babies?" I confronted him. "Of course I hate it. Who's going to take care of me when the baby's born?" Gabriel unleashed a tirade of complaints against me. "May, you used to be cute when we got married, but you've gotten ugly with age. Being pregnant makes it unbearable. You become thin and pale and your skin is rough. No femininity at all. It's shameful for you to call yourself my wife while looking like that." He pointed at me, continuing his rant. "I should never have married a 35-year-old woman." "And you, Gabriel, are getting a belly and losing your hair, becoming quite the middle-aged man yourself," I shot back. Gabriel completely ignored my comment. "And on top of that, all you talk about lately is the baby. Have you forgotten? I'm the main one here. As my wife, you should prioritize me. I don't care about the baby in your stomach." Aaliyah and I stood there stunned by his callousness and selfishness. The man I once admired and loved had turned into a stranger before my eyes. I was dumbfounded by Gabriel's words. They were like those of a child. It was clear that both my unborn child and I would be unhappy with him as a father. Vanessa, who had been gleefully listening to Gabriel's tirade, chimed in. "Gabriel doesn't care about a 39-year-old hag, right? A young beauty like me is what he deserves, right? It seems he'd be fine with any young and pretty girl." I agreed with a knowing look to Aaliyah. Aaliyah then pulled out not documents but photos from a large envelope she had brought. Vanessa watched curiously as the photos were laid out on the living room table. Looking at Gabriel, his previously arrogant demeanor had vanished, replaced by an awkward expression. "You know about these girls, right, Vanessa? They all work in the same sales department as Gabriel," Aaliyah said. "What are these?" Gabriel asked. "I've gathered some voice evidence. Let's start the fun," Aaliyah replied. After announcing what she had, Aaliyah pressed a play button on her phone despite Gabriel's pleas. "I'm secretly dating Gabriel. Keep it a secret from mothers. Vanessa is already an old lady at 28, so he switched to a young girl like me. Gabriel told me I'm his ideal woman. We've been dating for 3 months now. He's getting a divorce soon, right? Gabriel said we should keep our office romance a secret because it would be troublesome if it got out. The trip during his business travel was so fun," the voice in the recording said. As Vanessa's eyes narrowed with increasing anger, Gabriel looked surprised. "Aaliyah, how do you know I'm dating these girls?" Gabriel asked. "You've applied for leave or worked overtime on the same days as these girls multiple times. I'm in HR, so it was obvious. When I prodded, they were more than happy to spill everything. They were eager to talk to a 24-year-old, 28, and 39-year-old. Ladies are all old women, right?" Aaliyah retorted. I only went along with that because you said it would be fine. Then you cheated on me and got CIU so easily. I should never have gotten involved with you," Vanessa lamented, tears streaming down her face. Gabriel clicked his tongue as Vanessa resumed her hysterics. How annoying! Women think they can get away with anything by crying, stupid creatures. Then someone rang the intercom. "Ah, right on time, please come in," Aaliyah answered cheerfully, causing Gabriel to ask suspiciously. "A visitor?" Gabriel asked. "Yes, our department head, John," Aaliyah replied. Vanessa instantly stopped crying. "John, I live-streamed our conversation to the company group chat. Then he decided to come over right away," she said. Gabriel's face drained of color. Understandably so. The department head had acted as the mediator at our wedding. Gabriel tried to avoid divorce to not disgrace the department head and planned to make me ill so I would return to my parents' house. Ignoring the flustered Gabriel, Aaliyah let the department head in. He appeared with an angry expression. Well, boss," Gabriel and Vanessa, with strained smiles on their faces, were then addressed by the department head. "Both of you will be transferred to a clerical department starting tomorrow." "No way. I got dragged into this and I was about to be promoted to section chief in the spring. Personnel changes will delay my career," Vanessa protested. The department head, with a vein throbbing on his temple and a sharp gaze fixed on Gabriel, said, "I had a high regard for your diligent work, but to find out you're this kind of person, I'm disappointed, John." "It's all her fault. I didn't want a child. She got pregnant on her own," Gabriel pleaded with tearful eyes. "Rather than thinking about promotion, you should consider yourself a candidate for demotion. If the company's performance declines, you two will be the first to be let go. Do your best to avoid that," the department head said sternly. After being dismissed, Gabriel's expression turned to one of despair. The department head turned to face me and apologized sincerely. "I'm sorry for the trouble caused by my subordinates. I will ensure they take full responsibility. Please don't hesitate to speak up if you need me to give a statement." "I should be the one apologizing for the inconvenience caused," I replied. Gabriel and Vanessa were slumped on the floor, their heads hanging low. I marveled at their audacity, wondering if they truly believed they could treat me so poorly and continue to live peacefully as before. Their brazenness was astounding. With Aaliyah's help, I'm preparing to return to my parents' home. Gabriel sent the divorce papers there. I will make claims for alimony and child support through a lawyer. I watched as Gabriel weakly nodded in acknowledgement. Then, I left Vanessa's apartment together with Aaliyah and the department head. The next day, Gabriel and Vanessa were arrested for assault but were released a week later on probation due to being first-time offenders. I heard that the two of them broke up shortly after. Despite continuing to work in a sideline position at the company, they resigned after being ostracized due to widespread rumors. Having received the alimony, I am indifferent to what happens to them afterward. While Vanessa's whereabouts became unknown, Gabriel, disowned by his parents, resorted to multiple part-time jobs to get by. Aaliyah mentioned seeing Gabriel in the city, looking shabby and nothing like his former self. At his previous company, my ex-in-law, upon learning of the incident, traveled from the countryside to apologize to me. I had always been treated well by them and held no resentment toward them. When my daughter was born recently, I cried tears of joy. So I plan to visit my ex-in-law with her during holidays like summer vacation and Christmas. If she ever wants to meet her father as she grows up, I'll consider accompanying her under certain conditions to fulfill her wish. Seeing my daughter's innocent smile makes me pity Gabriel for saying he didn't want such a lovely child. Being a mother is challenging, but I feel deeply fortunate to be her mother. I want to continue watching her grow up surrounded by people who love her. Thanks for watching. How did you find the story? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more awesome stories like this. Your feedback and support mean a lot.
Alright, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my 2nd year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, I'm thirsty. Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children. With zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job. Having joined the company wanting to do customer service. "I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime," he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. "To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance." As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. "Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them." It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. "All right, everyone's presentations are done." "Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something." Nick interrupted me. "There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer." He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. "Still here?" Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. "I'm leaving." I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. "Nick, what's wrong?" Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I immediately followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was. As the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1, if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong. Mike! What have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. I didn't do anything wrong. You're still saying that? Look at him. Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract? Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go. Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him. There's no way he was pushed aside. Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he? I don't remember that part. I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you've failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.